Welcome back guys to another Minecraft podcast. This is part 5 of the Origin Update series where we talk about a possible update to early game which ends when iron is obtained. We hold these voice chat sessions on our Discord server, and there are also channels to discuss virtually every topic related to Minecraft or brainstorm your ideas, so if you wish to be a part of that, feel free to join our Discord server. As before, the timestamps are in the description if you wish to jump to a specific conversation. Today I am being joined by Martai and Debaka in the voice chat and Planemaster 3000 in the text chat. My name is Cameron and this podcast will focus on fishing. You wouldn't really see many farm animals on an island, so you could potentially replace that with fishing, but obviously since fishing is pretty monotonous. Also in 1.13 they didn't attempt at all to merge it with the fish mobs. Like when fishing was originally planned, they're like, oh yeah, they're gonna have fish mobs and then you reel them in, but then they just got changed to items and then treasure got added later. So I feel like if we were to continue with the theme of having island progression and not having farm animals and things, because it kind of seems a little out of place in the island, and if you were to have fishes, then and fishing being a lot more important, then honestly these days sometimes it's even easier to obtain fish just by swimming after it and hitting it with a sword, which kind of seems weird because like imagine trying to hit a fish with a sword in real life. You'd probably miss it or not doing anything like that, so it's kind of weird. As FishG is detailed in a suggestion, he said there are 3 ways to get food: hunting, fishing and farming. And hunting and farming have their own set of advantages, but fishing is pointless. Animals spawn more commonly and drop more meat, and killing them is quicker. But crops take time, but you can do something else while they grow, and once you have them, they're a reliable source of food forever. And fishing forces you to stand by and do nothing. And even if you do it right, you might get an old boot. And basically, the really only the use that fishing has that's actually used a lot, to be honest, is just AFK fishing farms. So
Yes, we've talked about this, but I think AFK fishing farms is a bad thing. It's just inherently bad. It's evil.
oh,
The reason
definitely.
for this is if it's not something you do, it's something you just do while you're not playing the game. And if you do something that gives you an advantage while you're not playing the game, that could be considered as imbalanced. And at the same time, if you only do it while you're not actively playing the game, honestly, that just makes it a really bad mechanic. That
Well,
should really tell you something about how much people enjoy it, if they only do it while they're not even on their computer.
yeah, it's just weird. Like for a game, one of the mechanics to be centered around waiting for something, it just it just seems so weird. Like that, sure, it wouldn't be out of place in a mobile game or a freemium game because microtransactions could speed it up. But it's not like there are any microtransactions in Minecraft for in-game items. That would just the outrage would be phenomenal. But yeah, AFK fishing farms, people like them because they're they're imbalanced. But if we could add the stuff that it brings without even break the AFK fishing farms, but also like have the benefits that would normally be attributed to fishing farms come in other ways. Make the loot like saddles and name tags, make them craftable, and make enchanted books, give them a whole new enchantment system that's more focused around loot rather than XP, but that's a different suggestion altogether, outside the scope of this podcast. And then make fishing actually fun to just do normally. So instead of making it so that the easier way to get fish is to literally just chase them through the water and either pick them up with a bucket or just kill them. It just seems so weird.
Yeah, the first thing they'd have to change is just make fish scared of the player, which is actually the case, but on top of that, they're not very fast.
Mm.
So they should just make fish a lot faster. They should dart around in the water, behave naturally, and if the player comes near or a dolphin comes near, they should just swim for their lives.
Yeah, you should literally just be able to like plunge into the water and all the fish just go several blocks away from you, like I don't know, 10 blocks away from you or something.
Well, my idea for fishing is to make it more fun, more engaging, and not just throw in a bobber, wait for it to go down, reel it in with the click of a button, and then you get trash, you get fish, which is also kind of considered trash if you compare it to a regular farm. or you get a treasure item, which is really considered too OP on the flip side. So that's a bit difficult when it comes to balancing. But we're not going to talk about balancing here, unless you consider AFK farms to be about balance. But that's also my key interest, to fix AFK farming.
Something that's an exploit from the start, I don't think it needs balancing. I think just the things that you used to be able to do with it. Like, people, even if nothing else, AFK fishing farms, they give you a lot of enchantments. They give you, saddles and name tags. If they make it renewable, essentially, except from villages. But people are wanting this stuff for a reason, and it's probably because the enchantment system is also flawed. So fixing that, although we can't talk about that, and making fishing interesting, and making it so that its number one use is not to be completely exploited with like constantly spamming a fishing rod inside a 1 meter by 1 meter by 1 meter block of water. It's just so weird. Like, imagine, oh, we're going to add fishing. 2 years later, weird contraptions with like really buggy exploits used to farm enchanted books, and it's fishing.
Well, so how I would make fishing more interesting is, some bullet points. First of all, fish will automatically swim to the surface or underneath leaf blocks, or during the rain. Well, the reason for this is that is how fishing is currently used. It's just that you get a higher chance of catching a fish if you're fishing under a leaf block or when it's raining. And my intent is that fish now actively and physically interact with your bobber. So you throw the bobber in the water, and a fish, it will just go towards it. You then have to, one or two ways I got it. Well, the first one is a lot simpler. It's a lot easier to understand as well. The first way of going about things is you just reel in the fish with mouse 2, and the fish will just swim towards you because of that. And when it touches a block or like an air block, when you reel it out of the water, then it will turn into an item and you can just fish it up. But you have to get it out of the water first. And that's the easiest. You just hold it down with mouse 2. Well, at the same time, your EXP meter turns into a different meter. And it's kind of to indicate the stress on your bobber. So if the meter is full, the fish will just break loose and swim away again. But if you just let go of mouse 2, then the fish is free for a while, but he's still attached to the bobber. And you can just see the meter go empty again. So you just hold it down, let it go, hold it down again until it reaches the side of the water. The second option I have of going about fishing is inspired heavily by Stardew Valley, and it works like this. It's a bit more difficult to explain as well. Is that when you have a fish attached to your bobber, your XP bar is still the meter I just told you about, but it doesn't fill up or anything. Instead, you can see the fish icon on top of that meter, and it just darts from left to right. All right?
Mm-hmm.
So how it works is you also have a tiny meter, a tiny bar on top of the meter, and you have to keep the bar on the fish. You hold down mouse 2 and the bar will go to the right. You hold down mouse 1, or you let go of mouse 2, either one could work, and the bar goes back to the left. And that way you can kind of follow the movement of the fish. Instead of you being in control, the fish is also kind of in control, and you have to fight the fish in a manner. Well, for the fish, it's a cause of life of death, so obviously he's not going to be happy with it. And that's why I want to give the fish more personality. Well, it still works the same, because if the fish icon is not in your bar for a little too long, then you'll see the meter just a bit shaky, and eventually the fish will just break off and swim away. But if you keep it in the meter, then you'll ruin the fish, and once it reaches the side of the water, then you can just fish it up as an item. And that's just for fishing. That's just for fish, at least. Because treasure works differently, because there's no physical treasure swimming around in the oceans as it is. So my idea is to change that. Just have water, any source of water spawn treasure things. I'll just call them How do you call them? Call them booty bags.
Booty bags.
Yeah,
Interesting name.
I agree with that, Planemaster. That's a smart name,
They,
even though they're not bags. But yeah, my idea is that when you hold a rod, a fishing rod, and you're standing next to any source of water, then you can see some booty bags floating on the water. And these can look different. Like you can have glass bottles. Most of it would look like seaweed or any other water plants. Soaked leather pieces, some planks, bit of scrap metal can also float on the surface. And depending on how it looks like, you already get a bit of an idea what you're gonna get. Like soaked leather pieces are gonna give you something made out of leather, like a saddle or just a regular piece of leather. It's also in the treasure item. No, wait, that's a trash item. Well, it doesn't matter. You can get both trash and treasure from these booty bags.
so what I was thinking was, it kind of seems a bit hacky how the treasure or the trash only generates when the player's holding a fishing rod. It just kind of seems weird, as if the trash just magically comes out of nowhere with the fishing rod, and it just feels a little bit off for me. How FishG's done it in his suggestion is he's just made it so that let's see, treasure stays the same, except if you've got it, then you just don't see a fish on the end, so you're like, oh, okay, it must be treasure. Fish, when you're picking up fish, there will be a fish at the end of the line, so you can always know if you're getting treasure or fish. But because of his previous requirements, which I haven't talked about yet, you have to fish in a specific shaped body of water. So and also you can only catch a treasure item if the last item you caught was a fish, which means that you can't just fish in a 1 by 1 by 1 block just to get treasure. So you have to grab another fish mob before getting more treasure, which I think is
Of course,
fair.
that's his way of making sure that the player doesn't just fish for trash if there aren't any fish in the body of water.
Would
But
you
my idea
incorporate
is
that?
to make treasure fishing also interesting, which is that those booty bags that you can see floating on the water, they are affected by the current, so you can see them floating by. But you can also reel them in yourself. You just have to throw your rod at them and just hook them like you would hook any mobs, and then you just hold down mouse 2 while you reel them to the edge of the water where you're standing. I think it would be more fun that way. Because I think in FishG's suggestion, you also don't physically reel in the booty.
No, I don't think so. I think my main problem with your one is though that it just kind of seems weird how they spawn out of nowhere as soon as you're holding a fishing rod. It just seems off to me.
That's a bit off, but they could just come from the water bottom. I can just slowly appear at the surface. Well, it doesn't really have to make sense either, I thought, because it's just a mini game. It's just something you do for fun.
In which case, what would be wrong with just having bubbles on the end of a line?
Because then you don't see what you're reeling in.
But by your one, they just looked like unidentifiable bits. Oh no, you kind of do get a little bit of a clue to what it would be. But do you think a clue is really needed?
Yeah, because well, if you can see multiple pieces of trash floating by, and then you already have an idea of what you want to fish up. Like if you're having a small boat, like you're just on the ocean with a small boat, then you probably want to fish up planks. So you target the planks ones, or you target the seaweed ones, so you can make some seaweed blocks, or eat them.
Possibly. I guess it does give the player a little bit more of a choice, and also they have to have a look at what they exactly want to fish up. So, yeah, that bit does make sense to me. It's still odd. It's just still them spawning out of nowhere. It's just. I guess
Well,
I'll
it's
get
not really
used to it.
spawning out now. I mean, the majority would still include seaweed. Like you would have planks and there would be seaweed on it. You'd have bits of leather and they'll be covered in seaweed. The reason for that is just that it mixes better with the environment. But yeah, I agree. It would look odd, out of place, even. Like if you're fishing on the river, sure, things can just float from one end to the river to the other. Why you haven't seen it before, I don't know. Maybe you just were blind and the fishing rod finally made you see. But yeah, if you're just having a pond like 3 by 3 and then all of a sudden a piece of trash appears, that doesn't make a lot of sense. That is true.
Oh, Planemaster suggested that they're bubble clusters instead, and they can be trash or treasure. So Wait, is that just so that you have to, so that you can fish out another one? Uh, that's I don't like the idea of like areas being fished out, but I do feel like bubble clusters would be a little bit nicer than booty bags.
Yeah. Well, I didn't come up with the booty bags name. That was plain.
Yeah, it's not just the
But
name though. It's the idea. Like bubbles kind of make sense that they'd come out of nowhere versus booty bags. You know, it just
well,
doesn't
my idea
seem
was
right.
just they come from the water. I mean, in an ocean it could make sense. It just floats from somewhere else. But yeah, in smaller bodies of water, it would make less sense.
Yeah.
Mm, maybe they could just be physical. Nah, no physical items. That would just look really weird.
Mm. You've also got a good point about treasure and loot tables being affected by any item that despawns in a body of water. That sounds cool.
Oh, and also something I almost forgot about talking is that treasure and loot table should by default be what it is now. Maybe a little bit less enchantments because they're a bit OP in some people's opinions and in other people's not, because fishing is absolutely boring and no one wants to do it in anyway. So yeah, not many people have fished in the first place to really consider a good argument. But my idea is that
Fish.
on top of what the regular treasure and loot tables, you also get affected by the items you drop into the ocean. The exceptions being biodegradable, like if you just harvest kelp, the rest of the kelp floats to the surface and you don't pick it all up, then you won't fish up more kelp. You'll just still fish up the same amount of kelp because kelp's everywhere already.
Mm.
Actually don't really matter in that. But if you throw in like a full stack of glass, then you get a good chance you're gonna fish up glass later, because glass never disintegrates. It will always stay in the water, and because of that, it will always stay in the treasure table.
Do you think it might be a bit too? So you're suggesting that related blocks pop up. So and depending on how much they decay, because like items don't really decay. Like imagine if you threw. It would actually be quite cool to manipulate. Imagine if you just threw diamonds into the ocean, they despawned, and then you started fishing out diamonds. That would actually be quite interesting to do. It would be fun to play
And
around
also,
with.
player about pollution. Don't throw stuff in the river because it will eventually end up in the sea, and you'll kill turtles with it.
Yeah, who cares?
But yeah, you do fish up your own treasure and your own trash.
Hmm.
So whatever you dump into the ocean, it's gonna get back to you.
There just has to be a way to insinuate that without actually. Yeah.
Oh, the idea is, I mean, rotten flesh, throw it in the ocean, whatever you like. It's gonna get eaten anyway. Realistically, it's gonna also, if you throw in like 15 stacks, it's gonna bring the biodiversity out of balance because some microbes get. But that's too difficult.
Yeah.
Just keep it simple. If you throw trash into the ocean, the trash gonna stay in the ocean.
Oh, I had a thought. Imagine if it worked for lava as well.
What?
So this
What?
is just a thought. Like if lava is pretty much the bane of any miner's existence. Like you can lose so much
I thought you
stuff.
were joking, but I can actually see something happen like that.
Sorry, just let me finish. So if you lose all your items into lava, just imagine if you had some way to fish in lava, and because it's nether, it's like magical. So imagine if items that burn up in lava were actually transported to the nether oceans, and then you just end up reeling up your old stuff. That would be awesome.
It would be impressive.
It would be
Except
such a
that
cool feeling.
Like you throw in your torches, that's gonna be gone. You have five stacks of different wooden items, they're all gone. But if you've got a golden pickaxe, then you're gonna be fishing up the golden ingots or a lot of golden nuggets because it would have been molten.
Thing is,
If
that
you
might
throw
be a
your
bit
diamond
too.
armor, you're gonna fish up diamonds.
The thing is, that might be a
You
bit
throw in
too
a stack of
complex.
stone, you can fish up magma because magma is just lava.
I don't know. It seems a bit too much complex to actually like make the things break down. And items and blocks already acts pretty differently. I mean, you can literally burn buckets of lava in lava. So
Well,
I
my
don't.
idea was just if you throw in like if you put an axe in the furnace, you're gonna get some nuggets, right?
Yeah.
Or one nugget, but it should do multiple nuggets. So if you throw it in lava, you can also get some nuggets, but you'd have to fish it back up, and it's gonna take a lot of time probably.
Yeah, I feel like it is a little bit more realistic to have them break down in the lava, but also, it's the nether, it's enchanted lava. It could be like,
Yeah, I just keep it simple. Like any golden item is gonna be broken down into golden ingots.
But we could make
Any
it even
diamond item is gonna
simpler.
be broken down into diamonds.
But we could make it even simpler and just have it so... Oh, maybe any sort of enchanted item doesn't burn up. And it just gets transported to the Nether ocean, so then you can fish it back up again. Like, I feel like something... When the Nether's updated, there's definitely things that they need to add. And some of that is like adding possible things for lava. Like, definitely... Either there are items that don't burn up in lava, like the Nether Star, more items like that, a way to make your existing items like that, or just a way to get when you mine items, they go directly into your inventory, like how when you exit the crafting grid they do. Because, you know, it would just be so annoying if you're so powerful, yet you can still drop items into lava and lose them. It just seems so weird.
Oh yeah, definitely. That's also why I was playing with a friend 2 days ago, and, well, all of a sudden... He never had it on, but all of a sudden, keep your inventory is on. So if you die, you kept your entire inventory.
Yeah.
You know what made him change that? He opened his Nether portal once. You can film the rest of the story.
Yeah, fair enough. But just imagine if you were going mining and then suddenly you accidentally fall into some lava and you're trying to get a water bucket, but it didn't go. You couldn't find any way to place it and you burnt up and then you lost all your items and you're back to square one. You go back to your base and you're really miserable. And then you open up a Nether portal and then you start fishing in the Nether and you're like, hey, it's my old pickaxe. Just imagine how happy that would make people.
Well, I would be happy, but anything that's not enchanted should just break down, and iron and stone and wood should also just disappear.
Yeah, anything that, this might be leaning towards a Terraria system of rarity, because I believe rare stuff doesn't burn up in lava. There are different tiers of stuff in Terraria, and if they're valuable enough, they don't burn up in lava.
Oh, well, I just figured, why is that bad? I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, but like...
Not just because a wooden tool would definitely burn up entirely.
Yeah.
But also because if you fish into lava because you want your pickaxe back, then you don't want to fish up 10 stone pickaxes before you fish up your fortune 5 diamond pickaxe.
That is a fair point. So any sort of diamond stuff and enchanted stuff, I think that would actually be pretty good. Like anything else you don't really care about. They should probably lose a lot of their durability though. Eh?
Yeah. Slowly. And when it's all up, then it goes back to the base things like diamonds or ingots or even nuggets. So don't waste a lot of time. Get back to fishing right ahead.
Possibly, although that might be a little bit too dynamic and a bit too weird for my taste. Like, I was thinking like if you just went fishing in the Nether and then suddenly you fished up something from like, I don't know,
too dynamic.
a week ago. Like, you don't want this sort of stuff breaking down in the background because it kind of defeats the purpose.
It just feels weird to fish up something with a wooden handle. I mean, for sure you're gonna find a video on YouTube that says 10 things in Minecraft that don't make sense, and it's gonna be included.
Yeah. I just feel like it would be a nice thing, and we'll expand upon your thing of the ocean having its own loot table. I just feel like it would be really nice. It doesn't really matter if it doesn't make sense. It's just that the idea of items breaking down in Minecraft isn't really explored too much. So I feel like we can take a little bit of a creative liberty with this. Yeah, well, it seems like we've exhausted this topic for now, so I'll end this one here, and we'll discuss another aspect of fishing, namely aquatic life, in the next podcast, which should be up within a day of this one. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell. You can even take part in one of these sessions by joining our Discord server. We also have a subreddit for submitting suggestions and a Twitter page. Until next time, stay abnormal.